Well, hello there. Dr. M here. Welcome to the Peace Driven Leader Lounge. I have with me on today Miss Celeste London. Thank you so much for sharing your presence with us on today. Welcome to the lounge.
You're welcome. Thanks for
For
having
those
me.
of you all who are listening for the first time, I always get excited every time we get the opportunity to bring a guest on because they are coming from a place of wisdom, inside their own lived experience, and they're bringing about value. What your goal is to tune in and to listen and lean into those areas that is causing you some curiosity and really go and take that on your journey as we are elevating this community of thought leadership. So welcome to the lounge where we are talking to real leaders who desire growth and real transformation. And we do that in a very sacred space that we call the lounge. So, with that being said, no other person can introduce themselves quite like them. You know, you're better than me. So, just share what you feel led to share in terms of your experience, especially if you've had an experience in the corporate environments and what that looks like. Most of our guests do. And the type of experience you've had working with leaders of leaders and the type of work that you do.
Mhm. Thanks for having me. I'm Celeste Angelic London, and I am currently working with Gen X women. So, I call myself a Gen X women self-restorative guide. When it comes to my corporate life, I spent more than 15 years in the communication industry, from
Mm.
workshops, online virtual presentations in high schools, in urban communities, talking mostly about relationships and family dynamics.
Very interesting. So, what did you find out in your work as you are, looking into relationships and family dynamics? What patterns have you noticed?
90% of the population is dysfunctional.
Whoa! Bam! Mic drop. And this is how we begin our podcast over here at the Peace Driven Leader. So, when you say dysfunctional, what would be your definition of dysfunction?
So, we all have stages in life called growth and development. And as a person chooses to grow and develop, meaning emotional maturity, most human beings have an adult body, but there's an 8-year-old boy or girl stuck inside of them because they haven't emotionally developed themselves in the life experience that they've had yet.
I absolutely can concur. Personal experience around that statement to be true. So, not just to leave us in that reality, now that you've brought this awareness to the space,
Hmm.
what do you believe is the next best step as we are leaders who are leading other people, our families and our homes? What do we need to do to move us from that childlike state to this evolved version? What does that look like?
So, what that looks like is you have to look at yourself. We live
Mhm.
in a world of negativity where we love to point the finger. We like to use
Mhm.
the blame, shame, and guilt, right?
Mhm.
And we live in a world where we project a lot of negativity called low self-worth, lack of self-esteem, and self-confidence with that we feel or have within ourselves onto each other. So
Mm.
how we can move forward is to first look inward. We don't live a life where we're told to practice to look inward. Blaming is very easy. Pointing
Mhm.
the finger is very easy. What we need to do is circle back to ourselves and find out, what is your triggers? What is hurting you?
Mm.
Do you have a wound that you haven't healed yet? Because
Mhm.
we're a collective bunch of people, collectively, universally, we're all interconnected, and we're just throwing projections of negativity of what we didn't feel filled up with within ourselves, whether it's that little boy or girl who didn't get to go to art school and that was something that would have been self-fulfilling for them. So we have to collectively circle back within ourselves, go back to our background, and see where we got the root cause of why we're operating the way we're operating. Because as we know, a negative, toxic person is just vomiting onto you.
Oh yeah, I listen. This is so good because this is definitely um how I believe. I even talk about that in terms of this space as well. It's like, okay, we're going to be having some conversations, and everything that we say is not going to agree with your spirit, and that's okay. But you got to elevate to a level of maturity to where you can process without the emotion or the rage or the very, blatant dishonoring statements that we make to where another person's, belief pattern is. And,
Hmm.
that type of stuff, it really does come from a very low vibration.
Hmm.
And so I do agree. Let me ask you this from just a corporate standpoint, because a lot of the listeners, they're either in corporate, they're
Hmm.
just retired or on their way to retirement, or several of years in the culture
Hmm.
of corporate. And you
Yeah,
know what I mean when I say that, right? There's layers to it.
there's a culture
And
there.
so that's why with our app, it's called I Lead We Rise, because the
Hmm.
idea is just that. If everybody is focusing on them
Hmm.
and coming back home to themselves, then
Yes.
together we rise. But the
Hmm.
reality is that we live in a society that hasn't really gotten that message just yet. And
Yeah.
so the people that are listening now are in the midst of a culture where people are just spewing, like you said, vomiting their thoughts, and vibrating in a way that can be interruptive. If you've done all this work, mind, body, and spirit, before you start your day, done all this, and as soon as you walk into the office, you got this person over here doing that person over here doing that. What would you give to that corporate leader who has to engage with these challenging personalities and these people, these adults who have not yet done the work? How do you recommend that it's a healthy way to engage without, losing yourself?
That's a good question. I find that being in the corporate world, they don't take time to pause, practice any kind of form of meditation or stillness. We focus on performance because we are transactional, and that's how we need to pay our bills or what have you. And it's all about performance based. When you live a life where everything is performance based, you take out the roots of the traditional ways of how nature interacts. Look at nature. The
Mhm.
tree naturally grows. You don't tell the tree, grow the branches, grow the leaves, and then grow the fruit. Nature, human beings have gone against nature. And when
Hmm.
you live a life where you are gone against nature, which is what the corporate foundation is, they're not nature based. A simple
Mhm.
thing like let's start a little exercise ritual in the morning. The productivity that will come out from the client, from the employees who's working for that company, will 10 times skyrocket
Oh, absolutely, for sure.
because people's nervous system, the parasympathetic and nervous system, right? Which has to
Mhm.
do with your productivity as a human being. We've taken that out of the corporate world and we just
Mhm.
focus on the money, the money. Yes, the money is important, but give the foundation of the root cause. Look at how nature operates, the water, the trees, the plants, the animals, and learn from nature how we should operate as human beings. Bring that back into the corporate environment and see a change in how your productivity will be as a company.
I 1,000% agree. And I'll say this as much as I can, that morning is the greatest amount of control that one has before everyone else gets up,
Hmm.
because that's when you have the most dominion over your day.
Yeah.
Is before the cars start moving and lights start turning on. You can literally feel it. Like
Yeah.
if you're a mom and you're listening, or a parent,
Yeah.
leader, you know what that's like in your home. It's like you can wake up at a certain time in your home, and it's just, I call it that peace.
Hmm.
That peace place, and everything's just quiet. You may hear the refrigerator, but for the most part, it's just silent.
Yeah.
And then a certain peak of time, you start to hear the moving, and when it's moving, it doesn't stop. It's like the day is like, ready or not, here I
Hmm.
come.
Yeah.
And so even with me, it's like when I notice that I feel like I'm not catching up with the day, it's like, whoa, I got to reset. So my
Yeah.
solution was I got to get up earlier. Because a
Hmm.
lot of times, we tend to be so drained by the end of our day. We want to spend some time for ourselves. But by the time we do that, it's like 10, 11 o'clock at night. And so we're trying to stay up doing what we love to do. No, we got to get up early in the morning. So it's that fight, right? To
Mm,
be able to just like,
right.
I need that rest so that I can get up early and have this encounter that you're speaking of. So tell us a little bit more about you mentioned about the Gen X,
Hmm.
demographic that you work with. Why
Yeah.
is it that you decided at this stage of your career to
Hmm.
really hone in to that particular demographic? And what is it that you really see um, that you can solve in terms of that specific demographic? That's very specific to Gen X and just
Exactly.
what's
Yeah.
happening in our world, what we've experienced, all that stuff.
So the reason I focus on this demographic of Gen X women, before Gen X women is Gen Z, and then I think it's called baby boomers or something like that.
Mhm.
We have a conditioning from childhood called chronic overgiving. We've been raised to give and not receive. And that
Mm.
sets you up when you've been conditioned, especially as little girls, to attract toxic relationships and to
Mm.
accept cookie crumb relationships, to give and not receive. And what you find is a lot of Gen X women, there's a high divorce rate happening in the world right now with Gen X women. And when women reach a stage in their life called perimenopausal or
Mhm.
postmenopausal, uh,
Mhm.
the we have a certain sensory in our female brain where we're able to take on the what do you call it, BS from the other counterparts of our male counterparts. And so
Mm.
that's why when women get older, they go after younger women because they're not able to see and, are easily able to handle their dysfunction. Because as we know, men
Mm.
and women function differently and wired differently. A 50-year-old male might be operating like a 15-year-old, and a 25-year-old female is operating like a 45-year-old. In terms of
Mm.
our maturity, a 9-year-old male, a 16-year-old male mentally, his brain function is the same as a 9-year-old female. A lot of
Mm.
people are aware of this.
I've heard that back in the day as far as like, girls mature faster than boys, but I didn't realize it was at that
Yeah.
rate.
And a
Um,
small boy in high school who's in grade 10 and a 9-year-old girl who's in grade 4, I think it's grade 4 is not grade 9, according to USA or Canada or North American standards. They're the same mentally. I have 2 daughters. My last child is a boy and
um,
he's 12, and I can see the immaturity and the brain development. Now, I'm not trying to bash men. I'm sorry if somebody takes it that way. But I'm just saying the way that we are wired differently is one of the number one reasons why there's a high divorce rate with Gen X women because they're now finding themselves. And some of them are just tired of the mothering that is done when it comes to marriage and relationships.
I am like, oop, I'm trying not to say anything. I digress. You guys are gonna throw me out in the fire on this one. I'll let Celeste be out there by herself. Whoa, you're dropping the gems, Celeste. You're dropping the gems. You're saying what so many people have experienced, especially women. We have experienced and no one talks about. And I have 6 children, for those of you who do not know, three
Wow.
boys and 2 girls. For 3 boys and 3 girls. And my oldest son, he is just so silly. And the same age as my daughter, like the maturity, and some of the things he does is I grace him because I understand I have to. She feels like it's a scapegoat, but I'm like, baby, I'm not. It's just understanding the way their brain process is very different, and
Yeah.
that's going to help you to really extend grace. He really isn't intentionally just deciding to do something. I don't even want to repeat what he did. It was so like impulsive and boyish. Um, and he thinks it's funny, and so the idea is this, right? You find this big generation, this underserved population, and I can only imagine that you once found yourself in this place. For
Yeah.
those who are really not clear, so I don't want to assume that people know what Gen X mean. Can you
So Gen
first
X,
kind of tell us that
sure.
that age? Yeah.
Okay, so 1965 to 1985-ish is the
Mhm.
Gen X time zone because every
Mhm.
generation, millennials, Gen Z, boomers, whatever, have a time so that from that age group is considered Gen X. So if you're born in
Mhm.
that time period, you're considered born in the time of Gen X.
Why do you think that the men during that time period had such a huge effect on the Gen X women versus prior to? Do you feel like those men had more responsibility, or what do you believe is
I
taking
believe
place?
that I haven't done enough studies on Gen X men, mostly Gen X women, but there are some Gen X men who are empathic and who are changing the cycle of dynamics within their family system because they found themselves being the scapegoat or the black sheep. And when you're labeled that or you find yourself playing that role, you're gifted as a male to see that something is not right in the way your family dynamics operate. And I've been lucky and very fortunate to meet Gen X men who are changing the cycle by changing things that with the family that they have created and not choosing to bring out or carry out this legacy of dysfunction, what happens within
Mm.
families.
This is really powerful. And I'm going to even take it like, let's go a little layer deeper because one of the things that I have come as a Gen X
Mm-hmm.
is everything that I've attracted, every experience that I've had, I attracted that experience, right? So that's
Right.
that next level of accountability as leaders and really thinking, okay, why? Because there are other men out there. Why did I attract this person who I feel that now I'm having to
Yeah.
um yeah, raise or having to like guide in these ways that you would think that they would have developed in already. And I am remarried now, but I was married for
Nice.
11 years. And so I spent so much of my energy and effort trying to, make this marriage, work. And it really took away from my ability to be a mom. That was
Mm-hmm.
one of the first things I noticed after my divorce. It's like, oh my God, the joy that was able to get back and just being able to focus on motherhood. Didn't realize how much I was taking from them by working on my marriage because the Bible says that, that was that number one
Right.
covenant. That was so that's what I did. And that's what I found. And so for the women who are listening now, who have identified themselves, self-identified with themselves as the Gen X,
Mm-hmm.
what can you say are things that could have attracted them,
Mm-hmm.
in their matured mind
Yeah.
to bring someone like that person that you mentioned earlier into their orbit, their sacred space, their temple? What are those things?
You have to thank that toxic, narcissistic, negative person for the lesson. They're teaching you something.
Mm,
First, you have to go back deep into your roots, which is your foundation, which is your childhood. How did you see or how did you watch how relationships operated? For example, for me, I
mhm,
never saw a healthy relationship between my parents. I never
mm,
saw a healthy relationship in the way my dad spoke to my mom, like if she's a queen. I never
mhm,
saw, I saw him bring friends into our home as a little girl with men who
mhm,
had girlfriends on the side and who had a wife. So
mm.
when you have that foundation of relationships growing up as a little girl, you have no choice but to set yourself up if you don't have the awareness of why you're attracting these
It's
partners because we
inevitable.
attract what we grew up with
Yeah.
unintentionally, our subconscious mind, our nervous system is wired to attract the foundation that's been set for us when we were little. So, in order to redo that, what shows up in our life is these same mirrors that attract this childhood foundation, which is negativity, toxicity, whatever it is you experienced as a child. And the
Mhm,
only way for you to stop it, because what toxic people are really teaching us, the
mhm,
reason why they don't love us and you're trying to love them back, thinking that's gonna,
mhm,
they showed up because they're teaching you, I'm gonna keep treating you like this until you let me go and you focus on healing yourself, those parts of you that are
mm.
wounded. Because what the narcissist really does,
Wow.
this person is really doing, is reflecting back to you your own unhealed wounds.
My,
And
my,
that's
my.
thank them. You have to actually be grateful and be thankful for the negative experience that you encountered in your life so you can reshape and reshift your subconscious mind to get your nervous system to relax and teach yourself self-love so that that enters your life. Because what enters your life is your own self-worth going on inside of you,
Mm.
consciously or unconsciously. That's what you're bringing into your life. And if you're, is like, I'm alone, which attracts abuse, if your only foundation in life is I'm alone, I don't want, I want to, I would meet women even to this present day, certain cultures, certain backgrounds, and all you hear that they're CEOs and they're studying, they're going to school, they're getting degrees, but they have this, we've been conditioned as women globally, collectively. I'm nothing if I'm not married and I don't have kids. We need to stop this as women.
Yes,
Your
yes.
your goal in life is not marriage. Your goal in life is not motherhood. It's an addition to what you have done with yourself as a woman. Like if I go back to
Mhm.
my 20-year-old self, I would choose more time investing in myself and choose instead of
Mm.
getting into relationships and things like that. Because again,
Mm.
men do not mature as much at the level as women. You're lucky when you reach a man, when you reach a man matures reaches halfway in Kundalini yoga. This is I mean, I know I'm talking to people who are not into that kind of stuff, but
Well,
there,
no, let me say this. Let me do a disclaimer. Let me do a disclaimer before I hope you hold your thought. So,
okay.
we have created a space
Mm,
where we just are going to we're going to get information out.
yeah.
And I know that typically what tends to happen is that we limit ourselves from
Mm,
growing whenever we need to be able to talk about different religions. We need to be able to talk about
yeah.
different thoughts, perspectives. We
Right.
need to have these type of conversations because
Mm,
that is what creates true growth. So
yeah.
please go ahead.
According to Yogi Bhajan Kundalini Yoga or Yogi School of Thought, this is a man that has said this. He says, "Women, you are 19 steps ahead of a man. There's
Mm.
no way they can catch up with you. A man can catch up to a woman half. He can meet her halfway, but he will never be able to meet her at her level. Never."
Okay. So let's dive a little deeper here. Whoa, you are ruffling some feathers today. So how do we then, right? Because we know that when we look at, God's original intent, and he has the dynamic of the woman and the man. Let's
Mhm.
now, so the conversation can be full circle. Let's
Okay.
talk about let's talk about the A plus in the male.
Okay.
How does that dynamic work? If this because what it can come off as is this, oh, we've got it together, we're way here, you're here,
No.
how what does a man then contribute? Because the issue that I'm seeing that's happened since the first war is
Mhm.
that men came back from fighting for the country
Mhm.
and women are left and they had to go back and they had to go into the factories because the men weren't there and their kids had to go. That's what birthed the child care industry and
Mhm.
their kids had to be, put to school and they still were cooking when they came home. And so
Mhm.
women, because what I'm thinking you're saying is that because we have such great capacity,
Mhm.
we're cooking and we're cleaning and we're working and now we're educated. Now this feminist movement went on. Now we're in education. Now we're getting degrees more than women. So it's clear. It's not like you said anything that's like, oh, this true? It is very evident when you look at how we move in society. We
Mhm.
have capacity for
Mhm.
great. So can you imagine as a man
Mhm.
being in oneness with another person who was just like it
Mhm.
feels as if I'm not a man, but I can only imagine. It
Yeah.
feels as if like they're running circles around you, and it feels as if where is my place? What am I doing? I had a clear role. I was supposed to provide, and
Mhm.
now you're doing that too. Like, where do I fit in this big world? And so I do see how men end up being like just
Mm.
paralyzed
Yeah.
from a
Yeah.
lack of identity, a lack of purpose, a lack of. So how do when you say something that bold like that? And you do have, women who are married and men who are listening, where
Yes.
would you say their dominance is? Like, where do they fit?
The dominance of the male. is to accept responsibility to make the woman in his life who he feels responsible for to bring out her femininity.
Mm.
The way a man brings out a woman's femininity is to take responsibility between the couple, between the both of you to have a virtual or whatever agreement and how to run the household to make the woman feel balanced. The woman operates the way she does in this present day and age for survival. A single mother has to be a mother and a father. She has to get up every day and provide. The children will not be fed. So don't personalize and take it personal how women are able. She's able to handle stress better. Studies show that the woman takes on stress and then pushes herself more.
Mm.
No mother that is conscious is going to watch her children starve. She's going to get up and do what she needs to do to feed them.
That's right.
So men need to stop taking it personal that well, you don't really need me. That is a victim mindset.
Mm.
It's a victim mindset. The victim mindset of the male is to feel like there's nothing I can do, you're independent. There's a lot that you can contribute so that she can bring herself to bring her female energy out. And that's how you balance one another. In this day and age, you can both agree to work, but you can share the responsibilities and how you can make the household run smoothly, especially when you bring children into the picture.
Yeah. That is such a powerful statement. I'm thinking about my husband now, my now husband, because that's what that's what he does. And he's always complimented me about all the things that I do, but it's never in a competitive tone. It's always in a gratitude tone,
Competitive
and
men who are competitive have insecurity issues, and men who have insecurities issues have a character of control and domination and manipulation. They're just
mm,
scared little boys inside of a grown man's body.
mm. So, with the work that you do, how do you, in essence, free the woman, the Gen X, to bring her to this sense of awareness and then free her to a point where she's carrying this feminine energy?
Mhm,
Because I mean, ultimately, to attract the person that is mature
mhm,
or to be in this state of contentment. Because I can say, 11 years working in corporate for, I would say, 4 years of that time,
mhm,
and this is me just being fully transparent. I remember feeling so defeated in my marriage because I was just like trying everything,
mhm.
and I didn't feel desired, and I think that that was a part of it, right? That,
Yeah,
oh, you went years and years being desirable, the things you want you. I'm going to resist that because that, again, the
yeah,
control. I'm going to withhold that. And it was interesting because my values were so strong that I would go into corporate amongst other powerful men and other men, and I was so grounded in my faith that I wouldn't do that, but it would literally irritate me for a man to compliment me, even in his purest form. Like, he's not trying
mhm.
to, like, oh, you look nice today. It would irritate me because I'm like, I literally just left my house
Yeah,
and he said nothing. And so
mhm.
it takes a toll on your esteem
Yeah,
and
it
your
does.
worthiness. And that's why I love the way you said that literally you stay until you get to the point where you say enough is enough. I am
Yeah,
worth more than this.
mhm,
And that's exactly what it felt like. It was like, I am releasing you. Like, I need to do this
yeah,
for you because that's how they see everything is for them. So it's like, this is
mhm,
for you.
yeah,
But I realized that it really was for me, like he was blessing me. And I think that's such a powerful thing. For those of you who are listening who walked through a divorce, man, I hope that this
yeah,
conversation is really bringing healing to you. And I just feel led to say to all the women who ended up getting into a relationship with someone, a very bright woman, had a lot
mhm,
going for yourself. I mean, all this stuff. And you ask yourself, man, how did I get caught up in that? Well, you know what? It's a difference whenever that person is showing themselves a different person. You
mhm.
got deceived into that. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like they were like showing you, I lie, I manipulate, I do that, and then you still move forward in it. No, most of the time they are mirroring what you desire.
yeah,
And, because you desire that, because you're looking at from a place of scarcity,
yeah,
you want that.
mhm,
And that's how you end up staying in it so long. So, what would you share to those women? Like, here's your moment. Here is your moment. This is what's happened. This is the research that I've done around this. You're
Mhm,
not crazy.
mhm.
Yes, you're successful. Yes, you make a lot of money. Yes, you've done a great job so far. But if you truly want to step in your femininity, this is what I recommend.
You have to do there's something called a paradigm shift. Again, going to the subconscious mind programming, you have to commit to what you were conditioned, what conditioning of a woman is supposed to be when it comes to your culture, your religious background, and do a 80-degree shift. You have to commit to
Mm,
that. It's gonna be messy. It's gonna look ugly. It's gonna be you're gonna family members gonna think you're nuts.
mm,
You're gonna lose relationships.
mm,
It's a paradigm shift within you of a reprogramming and a restructuring of your conditioning from what you received,
mm,
from what you were brought up or what you were raised to think and be what a woman is. All
mm.
right. Like being the strong black woman or the strong woman who doesn't ask for help.
Yeah.
Right. All these
I'm gonna tell
Mhm,
you, I'm gonna tell you when you talk about peace driven leadership, um, that level, the energy that you're speaking of is
mhm,
really rooted in safety,
mhm.
and we've lost safety and
Yeah.
we've been seeking for it,
Mhm,
like craving for it. We just want to feel safe. We want to feel that if
yeah.
we give you something, you can hold it and you're
Mhm,
not gonna drop it. And that's why a lot of times we end up doing everything ourselves because it gives
mhm.
us the safety that it's
Yeah.
gonna get done the way it needs to get done. And so I thank you so much for bringing this awareness because
You're welcome.
I've never been this transparent on a podcast. So you can have a spirit on you that just creates this. So listen, if you're a Gen X person and you're really looking to do this work, I can sense your energy is very much that safety. And the thing that's powerful about that, Celeste, is that where there's safety, there's vulnerability, and where there's
Exactly.
vulnerability, there's transformation.
Yeah.
And so your energy literally creates a space for transformation.
Yeah.
And so for me, my vulnerable moment, and I believe this is in preparation for this podcast
Mhm.
because I've been having
Hi,
these
ladies.
dreams. I've had these dreams, and with these dreams, I'm always the victim, and
Right.
there's always a man. Either the man is breaking in,
Mhm.
um, invading in my face, coming into my family home, robbing, it's something like that.
Yeah. Hi,
My
ladies. Gonna
children is
be
always there.
here.
Yeah, I realized in the dream that my sons were mostly in there. And then I realized that there was always a point of decision that I was having to make, a trade off. One of the kids, and then my now husband would be in the dream and he'll be doing something silly, like sleeping in the middle of my, like, this true intruder, he's
Yeah.
sleeping. Or, I have to trust him with one of my kids and then we have to meet up at the meetup spot. Is he going to do it? Is he going to defeat the
Mhm.
whatever, and meet me there. It's like
Yeah.
this whole sacrifice. And so I've been workshopping. And if you're listening to this and you've been having dreams, use chat to your advantage because it does a phenomenal job with
Yeah.
like opening up new things. And sure enough, that's what lands. So, what would you like to leave the people today, Celeste? What is something that you would like to make sure that they go away with?
Whether you're from a traditional background or religious background, put aside the teachings that you have received from a religious background and from your traditional cultural background and ask yourself, if it wasn't for my religious or cultural background, what does being a Gen X woman mean for me
Mm,
outside of your upbringing as a child, your cultural background, and your religious background? I'm not saying to stop your belief. I'm saying take out that belief, take out your traditional background, take out your childhood upbringing, and you see the need to make a shift within yourself on why you need to stop overgiving because we have a condition to give and not receive as a Gen X woman. And
I
that's what
love that.
starts those negative experiences.
I
you know?
love that so much. And when you look at taking it out, you all look at it not like eliminating, but like literally you're investigating.
Yeah,
So, like for me, the only reason why I didn't get a divorce sooner, the only reason was because I was a Christian and I thought you weren't supposed to get a
exactly.
divorce. So, that's what Celeste is
Exactly.
saying is that
Yeah.
take all those things out and look at the decision just for what it is and
Yeah.
see if it changes. Thank you so very much for your wisdom and your insight. You've been
Thank you.
incredible.
Thank you.
And I look forward to connecting with you again real
Thanks.
soon. You all heard it from Celeste London. And listen, peace driven leadership is not something you find, it's something you create. And this is your moment to create it. Thank you so much for hanging out with us in the lounge. And until next time, see you soon. Bye bye for
Bye.
now.